Hey guys, so it's been a little while since I posted anything, and that's because it's been pretty hectic. But I thought I would try to do a quick update on the past 3 weeks, because today Suhaylahs is 3 weeks old, and kind of quickly go over what happened between my 38-week update and then giving birth. So bear with me if it's a little bit long. And I'm also trying to record really quickly because my husband's holding the camera. But anyway, so at the 38-week mark, we had gone to do our ultrasound, which for me was a normal thing since I had gestational diabetes. And then it turned out that she failed that biophysical profile on movement, and she barely passed. Well, she initially had failed her breathing, and then she passed it. So, but the movement still was an issue. And so we did a non-stress test, and they stimulated my stomach with this thing, just vibrated my stomach to get her to move, and it worked. She passed that. So we decided that we would just kind of I would just keep track of her movements over the weekend and see where we stood. And then I was scheduled for a regular OB appointment that Monday, which was the 2nd of February, and then on the 3rd of February I was scheduled for another non-stress test. Well, what ended up happening was that also for the past 2 weeks I had been contracting. I was in labor, but they just weren't strong enough to do any difference to my cervix. So I was getting contractions every 2 to 3 minutes, non-stop, for the past 2 weeks, but they just weren't strong enough to change my cervix. But over the weekend, I went to, they had a karate tournament, and I went to that in labor with the contractions, and I thought that that day I would go into the hospital because they were really strong. But nothing happened, and her movements were still slow, like she wasn't moving so much, but it wasn't so bad. But by Sunday, her movements had dropped drastically. So by Monday morning, she had just stopped moving, and I went in for my OB. We did a non-stress test. She did okay on that, but considering all the factors, so the very, very low glucose levels that I was having, and the lack of movement from the baby, and the fact that I had been contracting for so long, and kind of just everything coupled all together, we decided to go ahead and do another biophysical profile over at the hospital. So I went there right from my OB, and then on her biophysical profile, which is the ultrasound, she failed it completely. Her movement, she had been observed for half an hour straight, and she just wasn't moving, not at all. Even when they stimulated my stomach, she barely startled. So from there, between myself and my diabetic team and my obstetricians and midwife and everything, we just decided that it would be best to induce.
That had nothing to do with it.
No, well, kind of. No, I'm just kidding. He was very supportive of whatever decision I felt was best. And so between all of us, including my husband, we decided that, especially, I just did not want to wait and find out what would happen if I would just allow my body to go into labor naturally. And considering that I had been contracting for so long and that I was in the early stages of labor, but nothing was happening, I kind of felt that we were going to be induced regardless. It kind of just seemed that things were going to be headed that way anyway. So, well, I didn't see the point of waiting just to find out what could possibly happen. Because the idea was that because of her lack of movement and my low glucose numbers, there was a possibility that the placenta wasn't functioning the way it should be, that it decreased in function, and that could have been dangerous if that was happening. And so we just didn't want to risk it. So that's what ended up happening, kind of just this emergency sort of induction, I guess. Kind of everything happened very quickly, and it was a nasty snowstorm / ice that day. So the weather was awful, and we were kind of just going from doctor appointment to doctor appointment, and I ended up having the baby that night. And she was fine. My glucose levels were in the low 70s throughout labor. What else? I did get Pitocin, of course, because I was induced, and after 3 hours of being stuck at 2 centimeters and nothing going forward except the excruciating pain, I decided to get the epidural. And then, typical to my track record, I got the epidural, and 3 hours later she was born. It goes very quickly for me. I tend to get the epidural, my body relaxes, and I go from like nothing to kind of everything happening pretty quickly. So in total, it was, I think, about 6.5 hours, I want to say, in labor. It's longer than Noah's. Noah's was 4.5, a little under 4.5. But shorter than Bella's, that was 20 hours. So I pushed a total of 5 minutes. She was out very, very quickly. And everything was fine. Her glucose levels, they monitored them for the next 9 hours. And she did really well with that. And everything turned out well. And I feel like I got some closure, I guess. I don't know, from Bella's experience, which was a traumatic experience, the hospital itself. And I got some of that closure with Noah too, but I loved being able to have that control. Like, I didn't get the quote-unquote dream labor, you know, in a birthing tub and all natural and no Pitocin and whatnot, but it didn't matter to me because my team was so supportive. My obstetricians, my midwife, my diabetic team, and I got my voice was heard, and my husband and I were included in every decision, and ultimately everything was left in our hands, and we went ahead and decided to go through with the induction. So it was very empowering, and I love every minute of it, and I love every aspect of it, and I would not trade my team, my hospital, my care for the world. It was exactly what I wanted it to be. So that's what happened there. And then in the past 3 weeks, baby's doing great. She's developing great. She had a oh my god, what's palidomal hematoma.
Palidomal hematoma.
And so she we had to just go get that checked out. It's just pretty much a bump on her head from birth trauma, is what the doctor told us. So it's going down significantly. It's barely there, actually. So we just needed to go check that out to make sure everything's fine, and it is. Everything's going great with that. She's strictly breastfeeding. She's a great nurser. She's great. She's gained 1.75 pounds from her birth. Well, from her last visit, which is, we took her to the doctor the day after we were discharged from the hospital. But so she's gained weight really well. She's doing great, and my energy is back, and I'm feeling a lot more like myself. The boys are doing great with her. I thought I was gonna have a lot of jealousy issues with Noah, but nope, he's doing really great with her. He's always asking to give her kisses on her head, so I can't complain. My husband has actually stayed home for the past month, and he will be going back to work next week, and we've come up with a really good schedule and routine between the both of us to do homeschooling and everything else. So I am feeling really good and really grateful, and I can't complain. I got healthy kids, a great husband, everything's going good. So anyway, that is the update. That's what's been going on. Sorry that it's been a little late and it's been a little while, but here it is. So I will see you guys sometime in the next video. Thanks for watching.